So, out of interest, so you obviously had a lot of kind of salesy type jobs, and you've obviously got the kind of the pate. You're not afraid to kind of talk to people. How did you kind of discover food, discover spices, and kind of how did that set you up on the path you're on now?
Do you know what? It was kind of like I love other cultures. I like exploring different countries and things like that. And I think the best way to sample a country's culture is go straight to the food. I mean, around about 2010, when I first met my girlfriend Jen, who I'm with now, we've been together 11 years. We started traveling together, and I'm quite, I'm quite kind of, I'll eat anything. Obviously, we're at all these different markets, all these different restaurants, and I'm like, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And just over the course of the few years of traveling around like North America and the Middle East and bits of Africa and stuff, Asia, you when you come back to Teesside, I'm searching for these foods. I put a post on my social media yesterday. There's a picture of a shawarma shop in Bethlehem in Palestine. It's the first shawarma I ever had that. And then I'm getting back to Borough, and I'm starting to spot the shawarma shops that wouldn't have drawn my attention before that. And now I think they're the best lunch ever, to be fair. So.
No, I think it's funny because I have travelled a bit over the years.
Yeah.
But I've never been to a lot of the places you've been to, and it's some pretty kind of spicy areas. You know,
the extreme.
Because I love it. One of the questions that I was going to ask is almost with, how have you found the transition? So, for instance, I grew up in Liverpool. Not that dissimilar to Borough. I won't lie; it's a bit posher where I grew up, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But actually, I don't know if I would have been ready until I was maybe mid to late 20s to go to some of these kind of like Bethlehem, where you know there's a bit of an undercurrent, and you know some of the other places you've been, like in Morocco. It's how did you find that? You know, your first kind of your overseas trips.
It's some of them. Like, for example, I was quite shocked when I went to Jerusalem on the way to Bethlehem. I didn't expect to see so many guns. It's not something I've really experienced in my life. And I remember being at the border before I was interrogated for a number of hours, which was fun. The border in Egypt, crossing into Israel. And there was a kid. He was no older than 13, and he had a proper Kalashnikov, an AK. And he had all these drawings that he did, like little pretty drawings that he'd sellotaped to the magazine on the gun, and he put it on a bench and then walked away and left his gun unattended to have a smoke. And I was thinking, a different world, this, like, you know. I was thinking anybody could grab that. What you doing? I was like, mate, you left your gun here. And he's like, oh yeah, I went and got it. And it was just a mad experience, you know. Like, I think after a few days, you start to get used to it, I think.
I found that when I lived in Kingston, it was the same. Yeah. That some of the, there was times, I won't go into detail, but you also saw guns and you were occasionally threatened and sometimes by the police. And it was just, it's a different world. But after a while, you do become numb to it. But I think for me, I found that whole experience of working overseas quite difficult. And I think I became unhappy. And when I became unhappy, I didn't care as much. And when you didn't care as much, you then, it's a very kind of
become a bit more reckless and
But again, a great life experience that I'll do at 24.
It is.
At 36.
Definitely. I think you can't be intimidated by some of these places. A lot of the time, I think if you do your research, like for an example, the Rabat trip, which I took recently. So we went to Morocco, you can search for it on YouTube, Diablo Seasonings. And we did our research, and I did know that the area we were going to was the roughest part of the city. But all I'd read online were positive things, really, saying if you keep your wits about you, if you're not stupid and you don't walk down any dark alley. We ended up having to walk down a dark alley actually in the guest house, but that wasn't our choice. As long as you've got your wits about you, also learning a bit of the local language goes down an absolute treat. As soon as you can ask for directions in a local native language, then I think you instantly gain in people's respect. And also, we do walk a bit like Liam Gallagher as well, so we've got a bit of a vibe. So they might think we're English football fans, possibly. I don't know. But
for anyone that hasn't seen it, I would definitely recommend Peter's video on YouTube. It is actually very, very good. Even as someone that makes videos and edits them, it's a hell of a lot of work, isn't it? A lot of work goes into it, and I love the kind of the storytelling with your mate that you went with, and he doesn't seem to know what he's getting into. But again, what it does from both an entertainment point of view, but also from a business point of view, it genuinely takes you on a story. And then back to your other point is almost that I've always found that, like, we went to Rio 12 years ago, and a lot of the guidebooks, but a lot of the guidebooks, don't walk around. It's not that. I just we walked everywhere, and realistically, same in Kingston, same in a lot of different places. As long as you treat other people with respect and you're not an idiot, they're generally fine with you. Speak too soon, but but I think people often worry too much about different things.
I think so. I think certain elements of the press in this country can give places a bad name as well. Like when I was telling people, look, I'm going to the Middle East, people were saying, you're going to the Middle East, what you're playing at and stuff, and you get there and you realise that the average man on the streets, just like us, really, they're spot on. Like they're down to earth, they're pretty sound.
I found that basically I was in Abu Dhabi 5 years ago. And there was a massive military show on, like a Tony Stark kind of proper, where they sell missiles and planes and stuff.
Wow.
And it was like, because I'd been a few times with work at the time, but actually there was a genuine kind of US war carrier, like Abu Dhabi small as well, next to it.
Yeah.
But my boss Brian at the time booked us into this really cheap hotel. I mean, like, it was nasty, and there was like this Filipino bar underneath. I remember going for a drink one night. There was a guy with a swastika tattoo on his arm. There was loads of American. They're not squaddies, but they were like, the
veterans, like.
No, like the guys that you hire. What are they called?
Like
the independent contractor kind of guys.
Yeah.
But at that point, there was a tension, and you could feel it, and it was like,
sat in the bar on loads of guns for hire. Sounds like an interesting night.
Oh, it's just some of the hangovers and stuff from that kind of place. But I'll save that for another kind of live stream.